and we're going to get right to Feet to the Fire. Let me introduce our people on the stage right now.
Ramos. Humphrey. John Stevens. Sandy Genis. Allan Mansoor. Mayor Steve Mensinger.
What are you hoping will be covered tonight?
Well, I definitely hope that they'll cover exactly what their views are for this coming cycle. I want to be able to hear what their plans are once they get onto the council, and also what their plans are for those who are currently on the council, to see, exactly how they're going to take their old policies and continue to implement them, and what policies they are going to be changing.
Well, the first thing I'd really like to cover is this whole decision by the majority council to not tape the forum, these different candidate forums, and which they've traditionally been taped and they've been posted on the city website. And I think it's really great that you guys are doing this. The problem is it's not well known what website to go to, whereas everybody is used to going to the city.
Well, I hope they're going to cover some of the issues, some of the safety issues, maybe their stand on banning ranch. I'd love to hear how we're going to keep our development in check. So that's some of the things I'd like to hear.
What do you hope will be covered tonight?
Oh boy, I'll tell you what, I am the new CEO of the Chamber of Commerce here in Costa Mesa, so any business issue is going to resonate with me for sure. This is my first Feet to the Fire, so I'm open to hearing anything that's going to stimulate some good dialogue between these candidates.
What do you hope will be covered tonight?
Well, obviously I'm interested in the development, a lot of our sober living issues, our progress for the city, and making sure that we stay prosperous and well-funded into the future.
Well, I hope they're really comprehensive, and it's short. It's usually a pretty short forum, but and sometimes it gets stalled on just one or two topics, but I hope they cover a lot of topics.
Well, I'm looking to see, at this point I'm here to find out which candidates we should support locally. There's a lot of young voters that we're trying to capture, but we want to make sure that we're supporting the right candidate. So I'm actually really just learning about all these candidates now. So looking to see if we can definitely replace some people that are in currently that aren't quite doing the job. And, I have a few candidates in mind that I think will make some changes. So
I hope to see the candidates covering all the issues, and I really hope that they discuss accountability. I think we need to see accountability on our council and transparency, and I think that these are big issues for our community right now.
Oh gosh, public safety is the top of my list, and just the development. How many more houses, 3-story with roof decks, are we going to fit in, and banning ranch, where they stand on banning ranch.
I'm hoping that they cover a lot more of environmental issues. I'm really looking forward to some of the environmental issues, especially banning ranch. I'm standing right by the table, and especially Fairview Park with Measure AA.
Well, I'm hoping that they will talk about the growth initiative and perhaps about the sober living home issues. And first and foremost, though, the safety on the streets and the problem motels. I'm hoping that somebody will have an answer for that.
Well, I would hope that they cover the big issues to the residents of Costa Mesa, which would be transportation, development, homelessness, crime, all the biggies.
What do you hope they'll cover here tonight?
Well, last year, or the last election, the raucousness in the venue was so out of bounds. I'm really hoping tonight they'll stick to meat and potato issues, things that are important to the city, as opposed to, just a lot of the, flinging accusations around out of the audience. It was just, we actually got up and left last year because it was just out of control.
What do you hope will be covered here tonight?
Well, I hope we cover what the city's happened in the last 4 years, 6 years since Steve Mensinger has been involved in the council, and talk about what's actually happened in the city. There's a lot of people that aren't happy with maybe their life in general, I'm not sure, but they take it on a lot of people like the city council. The reality of it is the city's done extremely well in the last 6 years under the leadership of Steve Mensinger, and so I'm really hoping that Steve obviously does well tonight, and the public sees how well he's done for the city, and he gets reelected.
Who are you rooting for tonight?
Well, I'm rooting. I would really like to see a change in the membership of that council. I'd like to see that majority broken up. So I'm rooting for Jay and I'm rooting for Sandy. She's been excellent as a councilwoman. I'd like to see her reelected. And I'm also rooting for John Stevens.
Well, it's going to surprise you, but I'm rooting for Sandy Genis, Jay Humphrey, and John Stevens. They're the trifecta. I think that's what's going to work for our city in the next 4 years.
And who are you rooting for tonight?
I am not disclosing that. Let the best person win.
I am rooting for the Steve Mensinger, Lee Ramos, and Allan Mansoor.
Well, my candidates are Steve Mensinger, Allan Mansoor, and Lee Ramos. I'm really hoping that they're able to get elected and re-elected.
Well, I'm listening carefully, but right now it's pretty much Sandy, Jay, and John. I love them all. I love all three of those guys. I think they'd be excellent, really thoughtful, and responsible leaders for Costa Mesa.
I'm not going to name anyone specific. I want to learn all of the information first and then be able to make an informed decision.
I'm rooting for the candidate that can most unify the community. There are a lot of candidates I like, and let's see who stands out tonight.
Oh, I'm rooting for Sandy Genis and John Stevens and Jay Humphrey. I think that they will restore the quality of life to Costa Mesa that we've missed.
Who am I rooting for? I'm definitely supporting Sandy Genis, Jay Humphrey, and John Stevens. I have in the past. I believe that they're the best ones that can help serve all the residents of Costa Mesa.
Tonight I'm here to support Steve Mensinger, Lee Ramos, and Allan Mansoor, and I believe that they will be the toughest on crime in the city and will help rid our city of the problem hotels, as well as help to get our ordinances that we already have for sober living homes well enforced, and hopefully have some answers for our homeless population in our city, which need help.
I'm keeping my options open because I haven't heard any of them speak in a forum to answer questions, and I really would like to know what they have to say first.
Who are you rooting for?
Well, it's not a secret that I'm supporting Ramos and Mansoor and Mensinger, so I think anyone that follows me on Facebook, they pretty much are clear on that.
And why are you supporting them?
Well, I think that the city needs to maintain a conservative base. We have a lot of areas in the city that need to continue to be developed, and much like you would remodel a house, the city's got some areas that just need some remodeling and some work done. And so they're on board with keeping that movement going forward, and I hope they'll continue it.
So my next question is, who are you supporting? But I'm taking it's Mensinger.
Yeah, Mensinger, Mansoor, and Ramos. I mean, basically, those are three people that are saying we like the direction the city's going and we want to continue the direction the city's going. There are other people involved in here who, quite frankly, have been involved in the city for 25 and 30 years and have gotten nothing done over that time. There are people now getting something done, and I think most of the people in the community want to keep moving forward.
I see you're from OCC.
Right, my name's Doug Bennett, and I'm the Executive Director of College Advancement, and I'm the college host for tonight, and this is the second time that we've hosted Feet to the Fire for Costa Mesa, and we make the facility available for free to the community as a community service to encourage dialogue and discussion about political issues. We have no opinion one way or another, but we're just here to host and open up the theater.
Is there anything that wasn't covered tonight that you'd like to let the voters know about?
Fairview Park Initiative. I am supporting the citizen proposition AA. Vote yes on AA to preserve Fairview Park.
How do you feel it went tonight?
I think it went pretty well, and I think it was good because everybody got a chance to talk and share their ideas and share their thoughts. So I think it was pretty good.
Yeah, one thing I've been hearing a lot online is a lot of people are saying you haven't done anything on the city council, but you had quite a resume. When she introduced you, I saw that you have done stuff. Yeah. Is it your lack of presence on say, Facebook or other social medias that is leading people to believe this?
Well, part of it is I'm always getting people nagging me about not tooting my own horn. And also part of it is being in the minority. For example, we had a project adjacent to College Park. I suggested some conditions of approval which would have made it a lot better for the adjacent neighbors, but the council majority refused to even consider those because they were coming from me. Wendy Lease had the same thing. She suggested certain things on sober living well before we had our city ordinance, but nobody would even pay attention to it because she was on the minority, and that's very disappointing. However, there are certain things that I feel I have been able to accomplish. Some of them are small things. For example, we now have the Smart Academy, and that's something that I really fostered and pushed for. It's in the summer, instead of just sports, we have arts and music and things like that. And it's been rewarding for me working on Vector, being able to meet with the people, being able to get something done on the ponds. Apparently this is a problem that's been brewing for a while, but I'm a recent addition to the Vector control situation, so I stepped into it. And it was great to be able to see things changing. I know we're still working on it, but apparently from the trapping data, at least our numbers are way down there from the pond, so I'm really proud of that. And so there are things that you do that you don't necessarily get a lot of flash and dash. Police generators. That's something that I pushed and pushed and pushed to get into the budget. And the council majority said, why should we buy a generator that we probably won't ever have to use because we'll only need it in an emergency, right? And the problem is we have little brownouts all the time. You look at the fire now, the Blue Cut fire through the Cajon Pass. If you lose the power lines, we could have brownouts. It's not necessarily a major disaster that causes the need for a generator. That's not flashy, but it will be the difference between a functional city and a non-functional city in an emergency. Push to get the emergency operations plan updated. Our emergency operations plan was so old that had we had a natural disaster, we would not have qualified for FEMA funds or for state funds because it was out of date. Now, working with staff, we got that updated. And so you can work behind the scenes, and I'm particularly pleased with those types of things that will ensure our public safety in the event of an emergency or a disaster.
Your last name is Humphrey, right?
Yes, Humphrey with no S.
Why does everyone keep saying Humphreys? Is there two of you?
Well, some people have said there's two of me, but I tend to keep that slimmed down as much as possible. But no, there's Humphrey's Jewelry here in town, and people get used to throwing an S on the end of a lot of people's names. It's no big deal, other than when people talk about me, especially other candidates, sometimes there's a little bit of confusion that goes on, so it's not a big deal.
How do you feel it went tonight?
Well, I thought it went just fine. I had no surprises of any kind. I think that the public got a fairly good rendition of who everybody was and where they come from.
Is there anything that wasn't covered tonight that you want to let people know about?
Well, there's a whole bunch of different things. There was the Fairview Park initiative and Saving Fairview Park. We have a problem with not enough open space in Costa Mesa. We are losing it slowly but surely. And as we grow our population, that balance gets even worse. So we didn't talk about open space. We didn't talk about the new senior homes that are starting to show up, where they're showing up with multiple cars. We didn't talk about traffic and parking issues. So there's a number of things we didn't talk about, but we did get very easily into a number of different discussions on a number of different items. So,
was anything said tonight upsetting to you?
No, it's kind of done. I'm sure that there'll be people who'll say there's things that upset them, but for me, no, nothing particularly upset me. I just answer things when they come up.
Do you think your lack of an online presence is going to hurt or help your candidacy?
Say that again.
Do you think your lack of an online presence on social media is going to hurt or help your candidacy?
Well, I'm doing everything I can to get an online presence, so obviously I think it's a benefit. So I'm working at getting that. Then the problem is always going to be that I grew up with phones and TVs and faxes and those kind of things. So the transition to every waking moment thinking about Facebook is not in me. I think about it all the time. Do I get it accomplished? Not always. So that's one of my goals through the course of this campaign.
How do you feel it went tonight?
It was great. It was very nice. Thank you.
Was there anything not covered tonight that you'd like to let the voters know about?
Well, I think it was like every debate with this many candidates. I don't think you can really get into the substance of issues as deep as you would like, or even the public would like.
Do you feel that your online presence on social media is helping your campaign?
My online presence on social media, a lot of people tell me I put too much on social media. So I think social media is one component that's very good, and I think gives people a sense of what a candidate does. I mean, obviously you see it every day. So I probably should ask that question to you. I've walked 3,100 miles. It's all been on social media. So I hopefully you appreciate that.
Was there anything said tonight that was particularly upsetting?
Nothing's upsetting. I think there's certain things we can become more passionate about. I'm certainly not a big fan of unions using extortion to get candidates to vote on contracts. And that issue was brought up tonight, and Jay Humphrey's made a point of saying he didn't bother him. It really wasn't a big issue. And it's really important to me. My family is very concerned about it. So are the Riegheimers, and I think anytime an association, a union, hires a law firm to put a tracking device, sends a prostitute, and tries to set you up with a false DUI, that should be concern for all of us. But I understand they're not going to support me, and that's the way they roll. At least that's the way that union rolled.
How do you feel it went tonight?
Oh, I think it went great. It's always fun. These forums are the best part. One of the best parts of running. No, I'm good.
Oh, sorry. Is there anything that wasn't covered tonight that you'd like to let the voters know?
I think it was pretty well covered. The one thing that didn't get brought up is the fire department. Nothing about the fire department, and the call rate is up 30%. The staffing is down 25%. I think that's something that we need to deal with. So, if I'm elected, that's one of the issues that I have.
Was anything that was said tonight upsetting?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think people were really respectful of each other. It got a little heated when they talked about the lawsuit, and I didn't get a chance to weigh in on that. That would have been interesting to get a chance to talk about that. And I thought it was funny that at that one point where Tom broke and we talked about cannabis. That was a good transition.
Do you want to talk about it now?
No, I mean, look, I completely hear where Steve's coming from. Obviously, I wouldn't want something like that to happen to me. I'm an attorney, and there's lots of things that can be solved with a civil lawsuit. I don't think that the issues that he has with that incident in 2012 can be solved with a civil lawsuit against the police association. So that's the only issue I have. Steve's free to do whatever he wants to do. I just think that as a city council member, you have to think really long and hard about suing the police association and the effect that might have on recruitment and public safety.
How do you feel it went tonight?
I thought it was really good. Tom and Barbara, they always do a great program, and there was important, serious topics, but there was levity, a lot of interaction from the community and the crowd, a much bigger crowd here in Costa Mesa than there was last night for the Newport Beach Forum. So I thought it went well.
Is there anything that wasn't covered that you wish would have been talked about?
Well, they covered a lot of topics. Fairview Park. They didn't talk about Fairview Park, so that probably was one that I would have expected to be covered and was not.
I think it went very well tonight, very well. I think both sides kind of said where their positions were. I think people got a flavor for the distinctions between the different candidates there, and I think that's good. I think clearly the public's going to have a choice to make about which way they want to go, and I think you could tell tonight that there were definitely differences in the candidates.
Is there anything that wasn't covered tonight that you wish would have been talked about?
A little bit was talked about the pension issue, but no one actually talks about it in a way the public can understand. This isn't like a little negotiated issue. This is an issue of 60, 70 cents of every dollar we pay goes into a pension. It's now going to go apparently to 75 cents for every dollar we pay. So if an employee makes $100,000, the pension cost of the city is $75,000 is what it's going to, and they pay 8 or 9%. again, that's math. It's hard to explain to people, but there's big issues over here. What we did find out tonight is one side's going to be endorsed and funded by the unions who want that money, and the other side's not accepting that money. So that's going to be a big difference in the city.
How do you think it went tonight?
I thought it was a really, really good forum. We closed this season now with 2 excellent forums. We hit on every point that we had wanted to talk about tonight. I think the audience was very respectful, and I think for the most part so were the candidates. I think that people got to understand the personalities, the opinions, and now it's up to them to go out, work for candidates, read their websites, do their homework, and become an educated consumer, because people do get the government that they deserve.
Is there anything that wasn't covered tonight that you would have liked to have them speak about?
No, those were all the high points that Tom and I had worked on. We'd worked on this script for months. We had monitored what people had been emailing. We looked at my columns and saw which columns that I wrote about had more response than others and where people's passions felt. I would have liked to gone a little bit more into the rehab elderly home issue, but I think we covered everything pretty well.
Thank you.